Hello. I'm going to relate to you something that happened to me today, midday, as I was driving a bag full of goodies up to my mom's nursing home in Auburn, New York. And today was a really dark day, overcast, heavy, thick clouds, wind, rain, cold in the 40s. That plays into this a little bit. My mom's in a nursing home, and right now nobody can get in or out of those places because of COVID-19. And she always liked her junk. She loved her Pepsis and her sweets and her corn chips. And so she can't get them, so I bring her up. I try to keep her in that stuff every week. I can't go into the place. All I can do is drive up and leave a bag with her name on it, and they bring it up to her, the people in the nursing home. So that was the objective today, and I picked up her 6-pack of Pepsis, not diet, straight up, real sugar Pepsis, the way she likes them. She's 85 years old, so you can have it her way, I think. Bag of Fritos and a couple of chocolate bars. Put them in a bag, put her name on it, from your son, Tim. And drove up there, and I took some pictures of the place because right after the stuff I'm going to talk about happened, I didn't get too far down the road, and I felt that this was worthy of a story. And because it just happened, I thought, well, go back and get a few pictures of what you're talking about, So I did. So I'll put the pictures up as I get to it. They're not pictures of anything exciting. It's just a setting. So before you get to my mom's nursing home, it's about 17, 20 miles from here, something like that. And I go in a back way, and you turn onto the small side street in Auburn that her nursing home's on. And right before the nursing home, and here's the picture for that I just took today. You can see there's a little field, and about as big as a baseball diamond, and it was raining, everything's wet, it's cold, and my mom's nursing home is towering in the background. She's up on like the third floor. But I'm driving down this street, and I'm only going about 15 miles an hour at this point, and I see a man standing in that field. And he wasn't really like in the middle of the field. He was standing in the grass a little ways off from the road. And he struck me as quite unnatural. Something about him. One, he was standing out there by himself in like a cold rain in the wet grass. And his clothes to me seemed very out of date because I drove by real slow and just kind of looked at him, half expecting him to turn around and look at me with that, what are you looking at, But he didn't. He stood there. He wasn't moving. He looked like a statue. But so he was in that field. As he, what am I getting at with this? Sorry. Yeah, he was just standing there. His clothes, I'll describe the man. He was about 6 foot tall. Looked to be he wasn't gray-haired yet. Looked to be maybe in his mid-30s, if that. He was kind of bald and had kind of dark brown hair, and he had what I call a Mediterranean kind of look to his tan. And he was dressed in black pants. He had a white shirt tucked in, and he had like a black dinner jacket of sorts that was unbuttoned, long sleeve. It wasn't a coat, and he had no hat, and he had a mustache. And honestly, he looked like what I would consider like an Italian guy from like around 1950. And Auburn was settled by English and such, but the Italian immigrants came in great waves. Auburn had a tremendous Italian population in the beginning and middle part of the 1900 or the last century, like 1900 to 1950. And they had a huge Polish and Ukrainian too that came in during that time, but mostly it was Italians. All right, off the pick. And I was looking at this guy, and he struck me as odd being out there and kind of like the rain and the wind. It was cold, and he didn't have a hat on or anything, and he was dressed, honestly, he looked like somebody out of the past. And the way he was standing there, he wasn't moving. He was standing straight up, and he had his arms down to his sides, both of them, and his hands out like this. And he's just standing there. I mean, his palms were facing out. And he's standing there perfectly still, even when I drove by him. And, I looked at him, and he didn't seem to even notice me. But, maybe it was nothing. Maybe he lived around there. I don't know. But it didn't seem natural to me. And I had this really strong intuition in me. Pray for this man, Tim. Pray for this man. Needs your prayers. He's lost. He's got some problems. And I had what I call the Spirit tugged at me. This doesn't happen to me every day. Honestly, for me to feel so inclined to pray for somebody like that, it happens, but not every day. I don't want you to get the idea that I'm overly superstitious. I'm open-minded I know these things exist, and I've learned over the years when to recognize them too. And normally, if I see somebody dressed up like the olden days, all by themselves, kind of strange, kind of lost, in old-fashioned clothing, there's usually a reason. I haven't told all my stories on here because most of them, like the one I'm going to tell you today, I can't verify to you that it was paranormal or spiritual. It may have a completely natural answer to it. But my gut feeling told me that this man, first, my gut feeling told me, pray for this man. So I didn't know what his needs were, and this is just how I pray, all right? I don't like to get preachy, but I'm just relating a story, So I drive by, and I start praying, God, I don't know this man's needs, but you do. And sometimes the English language is so inadequate, and that's when I personally start praying in the Spirit. And that's just when you're allowing your emotions to pray, kind of unfiltered. You're letting your emotions of love and care and channeling it up to God. Some people call it praying in tongues. I can do that. I do that. I've had that gift of the Spirit in my 20s. But I believe, like the Apostle Paul said, if you have the gift of tongues or being able to pray in the Spirit, you should not do it around other people, unless somebody can tell what you're saying, because it just sounds like gibberish. But I call it more like, it's like praying with your emotions rather than your language. However it comes to you. But I felt led by the Spirit to pray for that man, and I did. First in English, and that seemed inadequate. So then I prayed through the Spirit for him. And then, the nursing home's right up there. I got to the nursing home, and I took some pictures. This is like minutes after I came back, and I took some pictures of the front of the place. When I got there, the fire truck and the ambulance weren't there. What was there was this, I pulled into the carport because I was just going to drop a bag off at the door and then leave, because that's all I can do. You can step inside the door, but there's like a foyer. You can't really enter the place. You put your bag just inside the door, get the attention of the guard, the security guy, and say, I got a bag. And they're like, yeah, all right, I got it. Thank you, have a great day, and all that, and you drive off. Well, when I pulled in the carport, there was a large, black, really huge GMC Suburban of sorts. I'll try to look it up. But like a later model, tank-sized, black GMC. And I thought, God, that thing looks like a hearse. It looked kind of creepy, like you'd expect Men in Black to step out of it. I said, it looks like a hearse. I stepped inside, got out of my car, went inside. I was looking around for the security guy, but he wasn't around. I usually like to get his or her attention, and they weren't around. But who came out down through the elevator? Instead, I found were three men, and one was the security guy, and there were two other guys, and they were pulling a gurney with a body on it. And, they came out past me, and I got out of their way so they can get by me with a gurney. And then I held the door open, so they could wheel this body out of there and load it onto the back of this black. It was a hearse, as it would turn out. But I'm looking at the body, and I said my reaction. I said, "Oh no, I know what that is." When I see the gurney coming, and I held the door, and they wheeled it by me real slow, and the guy says, "Thanks a lot, boss." I said, "No problem." And I'm looking at, you can see the body underneath the sheet quite clearly. It looked like a guy about 6 foot tall. That's how big this guy was out in the field. I'm 6 foot, but thinner than me. And it was like just a thin body, I'd say, of a man, 6 foot tall. And I started praying. I felt really moved to pray for this person that just passed on, And I didn't know what to pray. I don't know what to pray. So I started praying to myself in the spirit, not out loud. I'm not trying to come off to anybody's. So I'm praying out loud, or in my mind, to myself. I'm praying in the spirit for this situation with this figure, this body that's finished its time on earth. And they loaded it up onto the back of this thing. And I kept praying for that as I walked out to my car to drive home. And then it hit me. I said, that was that man that was standing out in the field. And I didn't just think this. It hit me hard. I said, that was that man that I saw standing in the field. Looked like he's from the olden days, like 1950, Italian American or something like that. And I felt really strong. And I drove off, and the man was gone. He wasn't there. And I thought, yeah, I'm pretty sure that's what it was. I think his spirit needed some help moving on. And that's why when I drove by the man real slow and looked at him, I felt really moved to pray for him. And I did. And then when I encountered the cadaver of the man coming out of the nursing home past me, I prayed again for that man. And I felt instinctively that the body belonged to the guy I saw in the field standing just before the place. Standing in the rain, all by himself, not moving, just standing. He was kind of looking up, kind of like this. Looked like an Italian guy maybe, or some guy, I don't know. He had a mustache, he had white shirt, black, suit jacket, dinner jacket, black pants. I didn't see his feet because he was standing in the wet grass, which didn't add up either. It was really kind of a clammy, windy, miserable day out. And that's it. And I got down the road not far, and I said, you should share this, I said, go back there and get some pictures. And when I went back, there was an ambulance there and a fire truck for I don't know why. So that's it. And I thought, well, I labored over this because I couldn't really tell you, like all my other stories, I know there's no explanation that they're spiritual. And there could be a natural explanation for this. I strongly feel that it was what I felt it was, it all came together. That's why I was compelled to pray for that man. And that's why I felt compelled to pray for his body. I'm getting kind of emotional about it, just thinking about it. But my point is, this is my 2 cents, I'm not trying to get preachy, but I'm not hiding from things I believe either, or hiding things. And Christ said, if you don't light a lamp and put a cover over it, what good is that? If you feel compelled to pray for somebody, leave yourself wide open, because the Spirit will use you. It tug on you, and let it use you. What's it hurt? If you feel compelled to pray for somebody, pray for them. Even if it's a situation, it doesn't have to be a situation like this. But in my case, I've learned over the years to recognize these things. And I remember once, I never told many people this. I got out of church about 7 or 8 years ago in my village. And there was an old Civil War monument of a Union soldiers, big old gray monument, been there for a long time. And I got out of church, and standing in front of that monument was a little boy and a girl, and both blonde haired, looked like they were about 6, 7, about 7 or 8, children. And the girl was wearing a white dress, and the boy had on a white sailor suit, like Popeye the Sailor kind of suit, but like they used to dress kids up around about 100 years ago or more. And they were both standing there together, alone, by that monument, looking at me. And I saw them, and I people were getting out of church. Nobody else seemed to react to them. And they were right across the street. And I thought, yeah, that's natural. And they were both looking at me, and they looked nervous. They were fidgety and stuff, like they're nervous. And I almost wanted to take their picture or something, but I didn't. And but I stood there and looked at them for a while, and they probably were spirits, because nobody dresses their kids up in a white dress and dress a boy up in an old sailor suit from like 1890s, a white sailor suit with a like Cracker Jack with a big tie and a hat, and then have them stand out there by a monument and stare at people coming out of the church. So, but I've learned that in this case, I felt really compelled to pray for this man, and I'm repeating myself as I always do. That's story 49. I'm not sure what to call it. I'm not going to call it a ghost story because I don't know that for certain. I strongly believe it was that this man's soul needed some help transitioning. And I felt led to pray, and I did. And I prayed in my own language, English, and I prayed. I just kind of dropped it and just let my spirit, my soul pray. And whatever came out, And I'm by myself in my car when I'm doing this. I wouldn't do that around anybody else. And the Apostle Paul did say he didn't say, you shouldn't do that. It just sounds like gibberish to other people. So that's your own personal thing. So if the Spirit moves you to pray for somebody, pray for them. Pray for them if you're the praying kind. All right, so that was the story today, and I've really dragged it out. And, I didn't want to tell it at first because I couldn't really tell you for certain that this was a spirit I saw standing out there. But I strongly believe it was. But the story's more about as the Spirit leads you to pray for somebody. Yeah, God needs warriors that aren't afraid. I posted a video like last month or 2 months ago about I think I have the gift of finding things, and between God and me, I had a gift of finding things. And I really kind of went out on a limb for me by claiming, I didn't make a claim, I made an offer. If you're missing something, shoot it down in the comments and I'll pray that it's found. And I don't guarantee it's going to be found. As far as I know, everything anybody asked to be found, I never heard that it was found. The point is, I allowed God to work through me. I set myself up to look a little foolish to man, maybe, but I'm making myself available to do God's work too, in that way. And make of that what you will, and make of today's story what you will. Stay safe. I know you will. So, next story, hopefully I'll get into it, will be a doozy.